Scottish. Hey, welcome in. It is again another day without Ryan Noonan, who's on vacation. Not even a golf vacation, just a regular family vacation, taking care of business there. He'll be back soon, but we'll do a quick first look show. Ron can't join us today either. Bad storms rolling through the Midwest. He hasn't had power at his house since, like Friday. So just me. I avoided the worst of it. I spent a little time down at the John Deere. Had a couple sweats there. That was nice with Suber. Doesn't quite have that dog in him. Would have been nice to see him play a little bit better on Sunday, get into the conversation. Ryan also had a Suber ticket with a much better number, and that hurts, but not as bad as having a Ben Coles ticket. Pretty tough ending for things there, and it leads us into the double situation where we have I can't bet on a guy because he just won a tournament, and I can't bet on a guy because he won this tournament last year. I'm not sure that you get this often, where we get the double with Gotterup. So congratulations. Yeah, congrats, Michael. You got your Gotterup. There were so many people in the mix that it was tough. You know, I wasn't banking on Suber getting it done, but it would have been nice. Still nice, happy with the process, getting some guys in the mix with a small card. And boy, big difference this week, obviously, with the strength of the field. You know, last week you saw a lot of cards, a lot of people betting on, it's not like these guys are 200 to 1, but lesser names, younger players, guys who can go out there and just score. A bit of a, the dichotomy, the difference, the flip and script as far as the field strength and how you're going to have to approach it betting it. Obviously, with the smaller purse, usually you don't end up with this, but the fact that it's just the lead up to the Open, it's the only championship, the only major that's, there is quite a bit of travel to. So many people just end up using this as a warm up, and we actually have a stacked field for a smaller purse here. So most of the top of the boards here, and then obviously the live stuff is kind of cool, I guess. I'm happy to get these guys in the mix more often, and however they finagled it on the back end with the DP World Tour, you get Rahm, you get Hatton, Puig, I think. Patty Reed obviously is making his way back in a different way, but it's great to have some of those names and just get the full strength of field outside of just those 4 times a year. So it is a co-sanctioned event. That's why, I mentioned the DP World Tour. You end up with, the PGA and the DP World Tour both running the event. So that's why, like I said, Rahm and Hatton were able to work their way in that way. Royal Birkdale, though, next week. So I know some people are already looking ahead to that, I guess. Obviously, still an event to bet. And like I said, unlike last week when we were hunting for, a bit of a live long shot. And it's funny how I said, they weren't 200 to 1. Like, long shot has a different connotation, I think, in different sports. Like, you look at some of these mid-board guys, it's like, he's only 40 to 1, only to 50 to 1. Can you imagine betting on a Major League Baseball game or a basketball game and hitting a 40 to 1 on some, I don't know, prop or an SGP or something? It'd feel damn good. But somehow in your mind, like when you're betting golf, it just doesn't seem like that big of a number. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone there, but it's still a long shot. It would have been great to, Suber had 60-ish and change. I think Ryan had 75. Those are definitely long shots. So unlike last week, when you're hunting for some of those live long shots, you actually have to beat good players this week. And that does change how we're shopping the board, which is probably a good time to bring up the Sharp Stack odds board. A lot of places not up yet. Obviously, I can't bet in some of the legal shops, but as you see, it's kind of standard procedure here where you have Scottie at 5 to 1, you have Rory at about double that, FanDuel's up, DK's up, plus 920 at DK, 10-1 on Rory at FanDuel, and then but you jam Rahm in the middle. So usually, at these signature events, you have those two, and then right after it, you end up with the Ludwig and Fitzpatrick and Schauffele and all them, and they are in that they're still in that 2,000 range, 20-1, but you end up with a Rahm mashed in there at 12-1, which is a fun one. Gotterup obviously has had some success here, and it has some good form, 30-1. Wyndham Clark 35. Hovland, who's obviously had some good form as well, 35-1. Cantlay, I don't know. I guess he worked his way up a leaderboard a couple weeks ago. Got to put a little respect on the name again, but I don't know who's betting Patrick Cantlay at events like this. He's 35-1. Siwoo Kim, who's had a great year without the the actual top of the mountaintop kind of stuff, 35. JT 40. Bobby Mack, the local-ish guy, 40 at Fanatics. I'm not sure that's a place that people actually place bets, but they definitely are in the Sharp Stack odds board here. So Hatton mentioned previously that, he got in through, however, with the DP World Tour, he will play at 40-1. And then some of the interesting names here, Kitayama, 55, kind of fun, interesting one as far as how he fits in here. And we'll get into some of that later, but we can look at some of these long shots as we go. I did want to bring up the course tools page, if I can get back to wherever the hell I'm going here. The key stats page here on the Betsperts Golf. Just kind of talking about the makeup of this one. And for anybody, before anyone asks, we'll cover the ISCO as well. I love the ISCO. I've hit outrights in Kentucky. I will be writing some previews for that. We'll get some articles up. We'll definitely mention it tomorrow, but I haven't done zero work on the ISCO. I've been just spending my time here getting ready for Scottish Open. So tomorrow on the betting show, we'll definitely get into that one. But today, just focusing on this Scottish Open. Modern Links, Tom Doak design, opened 20 years ago, roughly. Par 70, 7,200 yards. It's a weird one. As far as, if you start thinking about links courses, looks like a links course, doesn't always play like a links course. Obviously you can get the wind coming off the water. You can get the winds just because it's a little more wide open, and that can definitely affect things. But man, the fairways are pretty wide here. And even with the 4-inch rough, it's fescue. People don't seem to have as much trouble with that as some of the other, types of agronomy that can definitely grab at your clubs. So the missed fairway penalty here, despite, if you look at this, where do we got it? 4-inch. It's categorized as long rough in our, how we categorize things for, doing splits in the rabbit hole and whatnot. But the missed fairway penalty is low. And again, the fairway accuracy is difficult, even though they're wide. So there are a lot of people, just kind of pounding it here and not worrying all that much. So it does turn into ball striking and finding your way around these really big greens. I think that's another aspect of this course that's interesting, especially compared to some of the last few weeks, where pretty sizable greens, 7,000 square feet on average, and slower than an average tour week, just because of the agronomy, the fescue. Around the greens, pretty easy here. If you're a shaky chipper, wedger's what my kid calls it. I don't think anyone else uses that term. You can survive, just finding your way around the greens, because they are a little bit slower. They're big though. As I mentioned, they're big. You do need to have some of that 3-putt avoidance when you're hitting one of these longer lag putts. And as I mentioned, fairway accuracy difficulty, low miss penalty, but there is some defense there with the bunkers. They're pretty tough. And you'll see this at certain stops where a guy finds a fairway bunker and he's not, he's in the middle of it. He's got room. And honestly, these guys are so good that they're still hitting these greens, but these are tougher bunkers, just the way things are set up. So finding the fairway bunkers is going to be way, way worse than, just finding some of this rough when you're off the green. 80 bunkers, no real water hazards here. I think we listed as low and 0. I mean, you can see water. It's just if you've actually hit it in the water, you've really, really done something wrong. GIR, greens and reg accuracy, here's average. I think they are harder to hit in general, but they're so big that it's still just, it comes out as average for the most part here. The winning profile for some of these guys who's winning, it is just somewhat distance and strokes gained off the tee paired with, finding one or two other strengths. If you have a guy who's been great off the tee, he's gaining OTT, he's got some distance, and he also has that long iron. The approach ranges here do skew a little longer, and I think, we can look at that too further down here. Driver usage, about 70%. Approach shot distribution here on the page. Where are we at? We can scoot over a little because I think this 175 to 200 range, the PGA Tour average for shots coming from 175 to 200 is 15%. Last year, it was 23% here. So there are quite a bit of those longer shots. PGA Tour average for 200 plus is just shy of 20%. Last year, it was 36.5. Jeepers cats. I guess that's fairway only. I should be looking at total. So a little higher on total, 25 compared to 23.5. Total 175 to 200 is 25.5. Here, the PGA average is 18.5. So those 175, 200, 250, those big longer iron shots, it is a higher distribution of those this week. So again, if you find somebody who can bomb it off the tee and still has to hit some of these, irons, 175 in, really good ball strikers, maybe they don't have to have perfect chipping around the green because of the size of these greens. As long as they're not absolutely duffing it on the greens and three-putting everything, you're going to find yourself in contention because I don't know that it's going to come down to the wind, guys. We've had that here at this event where if the wind really, really kicks up, it can turn into who can fight through that, who has the flight, the flight height, the apex height. They can flight it down and fight through some of that wind. Who can do it, on their second shots without having to really throw it way up in the air. It doesn't look that windy this week. Again, it's Monday. Lots of things can change. We threw together a weather article on the site, but I mean, a lot of Thursday we're showing, that this line is 10 miles an hour. Most of the wind below 10 with some gusts, 15. Wednesday, we're not going to work backwards. Friday, gusts maybe getting to 20 in the afternoon. But again, winds right around that 10 mile an hour range. Saturday morning, it's going to be pretty windy, but again, we're going to have a cut. And I don't know actually what time tee times will start on round 3, but not as early, obviously, as rounds 1 and 2. So some of these winds are going to be dissipated by the time guys who actually matter hit the course on Saturday. And then Sunday, same kind of story. 8 to 10 miles an hour with maybe gusts 15 to 20. Obviously, that can change, but it doesn't look like we're going to have a ton of wind. Honestly, one of the strange factors this week for the weather is, it's really strange for me because I live in the Midwest where the corn's sweating, and I just sweated my ass off sitting down in Silvis, Illinois in the sun watching the John Deere. But it's going to be kind of chilly, especially in the morning with the, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds and temps only in the low 60s. It's going to feel like 50 degrees, which, maybe isn't cold, but definitely shock to the system for anybody, like a guy like Gotterup who just had, ass sweats for 4 days at the John Deere heading here. And it's going to be about relatively 50 degrees cooler because with some of the humidity in Silvis there, your real feel was like 100 degrees. So kind of strange. Some of the feels like temperatures are going to be in the low 50s here. So I don't know that actually affects anything. It just kind of tripped me up when I was starting to look at the weather. Let's see if we have comp courses here real quick because I keep running into people keep bringing up Harding, the Genesis Scottish Open. Our listed ones are Portrush, Birkdale next week, Royal St. George, Troon, St. Andrews. A lot of the open courses, Shinnecock, Royal Liverpool, Los Angeles CC North course, the U.S. Open course from a few years ago, Memorial Park, Ocean course at Kiowa, and Erin Hills. A lot of people have mentioned Memorial Park, Houston, which is kind of interesting again because we're not going to get that wind. We're not going to have that feel of, hey, I got to fight through the weather and it's raining sideways and it's shitty out. It's cloudy and windy. But the fact that it might just be pretty clean conditions, the Memorial Park thing is a pretty interesting comp to me, not only because of how it plays, but if you go look at who designed this, Tom Doak, and Memorial Park, another Doak design. You spray the driver, you hit your long approaches, and you can get away with a little bit of loose short game as long as, the putting isn't abhorrent. So I don't know if I'm going to go just like take guys who played well in Houston and say, hey, I'm going to bet on you here, but it's definitely something that's on the radar this week. Go look again to recent champs. Gotterup last year, 15 under. Bobby Mack, mentioned the local guy. Semi-local Rory 3 years ago. Xander. And then this is interesting too, as you see it was 15 under, 18 under, 15 under, and then you get to the Xander year in 2022. And that was a windy year. That was a weather year. That was where you ended up with, a little bit of fighting through the elements. Again, don't think we end up with that at all. Could be wrong. It's 9:17 a.m. Central Time on a Monday. There's a lot of time between now and when we actually tee off, and the weather can definitely change. So really, again, distance, driving matter, but it's not just blind distance. It has to be good enough to avoid the fairway bunkers, and good enough ball striking to, make those longer iron shots. And I don't know, lag putting. I guess we could look at some of that with 3-putt avoidance. You do want to dig into that a little bit more if you are looking at a place with bigger greens. So keep that in mind if you are building a rabbit hole model. I haven't finished mine for the week, but as always, we do have the key stats model built up, which I think is, I'm going to minimize this a little here. All right. It is just 5 stats. It's our simple one we put right up there on the home site. On the homepage, Ron builds this with basically one stat from each of the 4 major categories, and then kind of a little bit of wild card one here. This is just total last 6 months. This is just form. So form, off the tee, looking at the last 6 months off the tee, approach, last 3 months, all starts, all courses, around the green. We're looking at we took out some of the tough around the green spots. This is just easy, very easy and average around the green play. And then a little bit of putting, gaining difficulty, because again, it is tough to gain strokes here on the greens. So pretty in line with the odds board, honestly. Scottie number 1. When you do it like this and you're not getting terribly granular, that's how it should look. Rory 2, Ludwig, a little further down, 3. Obviously, looking at data like this excludes a lot of John Rahm's play, so he's just going to be lower on here. Maybe not at all based on how much data we have. See, there's just dead spots here where we don't have a lot of data on him based on the tournaments he's been allowed to play. So Rahm better than 52nd in the field. I'll go on a limb and say that, but just worth mentioning that, his is a data problem. We don't really think that lowly of him. Fitzpatrick, obviously an interesting play here based on the year he's had, and he's had some tough finishes or good finishes here. The putting is a little lower than people up higher in the field. It's funny that Brandt Snedeker, again, you're going to use form. You're going to use some of the things he does well, some of his iron play. Brandt Snedeker has a win on tour this year. he almost took down another one. So I don't know that a guy that's going to be a huge price like that is going to be value, but definitely another guy worth digging into because he's a guy I've liked this year. Tommy Fleetwood, we skipped over. He was 5th in this model. He hasn't done anything wrong. He just, again, a guy I don't know that I can bet him here as someone maybe struggles a little close the deal at times. Obviously, Fitzpatrick, the other Fitzpatrick, again, great form. After winning that event with his brother, people were kind of dogging on, that's, he made his way on tour in kind of a sneaky backhanded way, but he's played some good golf. So I don't hate that. Jake Knapp is a weird one too, with the data you're looking at here is also looking far enough back where you're looking pre-injury where he's been kind of banged up, and I guess I don't know how to treat him this week too. That's kind of a play it by ear if you're using him in DFS because of some of the issues we could see from a guy that maybe hasn't played his best this year with fighting through some of that. Smalley, that's an interesting one to be this high. I didn't see that coming. Brooks Koepka is in this, but I don't believe he's playing. I'm going to double check on that. I'm 90% sure I saw news that he was going to pull out. So let me triple check that while we talk through this. I don't remember what his deal was. It's kind of interesting too with the Gotterup thing, having to travel after win. You often see people win a tournament and then pull out, but what are you going to do? Like, this is prep. All right. Brooke, there was news that he'd pulled out, and the latest article says Brooks Koepka back in Scottish Open field after entry confusion resolved. So I take it back. I guess he's playing. We'll cover that if something happens, but Brooksy's kind of back. He's played some good golf, and I was really down on him last year when he was making some starts because his knee, I don't think, was right. He wasn't driving off that knee right, and his swing mechanics looked a little wonky. He was missing off the tee a lot. Some of his approach shots, you could just tell like he wasn't comfortable. So Brooks Koepka, maybe somebody I might bet again after really, really, really fading that guy last year. And then kind of rounding up the top dozen, Tom Kim and Taylor Moore. Tom Kim, another weird one where guy came on the scene, was great, fell off for a while, but his form's kind of back in place. And, somebody you can look at a bigger number here. So if you are looking at putting in some filters this week for, a rabbit hole, I think definitely rely heavy on off the tee stuff. It might not just be like, hey, I'm putting in driving distance and that's going to be a huge driver for me, because it isn't pure bombing with these fairway bunkers that can be a little punishing. But definitely an off the tee filter needs to come in heavily, if it's that, or if it's tee to green, if it's ball striking, if you want to combine the two, because it is a big driver profile week, which is McIntyre. McIntyre won this. McIntyre can probably win this again if he plays well enough with his second shots. And then, as we went over a little earlier, the approach stuff. If you are doing approach, you might want to look at some of those buckets that are 175 on out. This is where a lot of the shots live here at this course. Find out, if you're looking at somebody, can they play elite from the long range irons? We could look at that comp course thing. I haven't done that. We should just go straight rabbit hole here. I like doing this quite a bit too, where maybe I'm not building a model, but I like to click the button right under courses. It'll pull in all those courses mentioned earlier automatically. It'll only show us, it'll only show rounds and stats from courses or rounds that you've played on those courses, which is a bit of a problem since our time frame is set at 6 months and nobody's played at St. Andrews in the last 6 months on tour. So if you do want to look at the comp stuff, some weeks, it's fine to look at a year, but with so many of these being places I haven't played, I'm going to pull up 2 years and look at some of the the average strokes gained when they played on these 10 courses or so. Even this isn't going to pull in like Los Angeles because it's been too long ago. Even this is only giving me 16 rounds for some of these guys. So grain of salt on some of this. And obviously Scottie's top of the board here, Xander second. But interestingly enough, Sam Stevens, that's a popular one this year. God, people have lumped on him a few times. Sam Stevens, and if you do click on this, I'll make sure this pulls up on the screen. Yeah. If you click on it, it'll actually show, hey, you pulled up, these 10 courses last 2 years. It'll show which ones it's pulling for him. And it was the 26 US Open the other week and 2 straight years of the Texas Children's Houston Open. So again, use some context because some of these are going to be a lot of tougher courses where this 2/3 of his rounds are the Houston Open under probably easier conditions, which again, maybe not the worst thing to look at this week with the, light winds. Gotterup's high. What are you going to do? He's playing great. Keith Mitchell. Interesting. Kiefer, a guy I bet last week. I'm guessing his 8 rounds are just going to be Houston. Or no, it was 2 rounds. No, it was all 4 rounds of the U.S. Open, and then this year's Texas Houston Open for him as well. Bet him last week. Don't think I have the stomach for it at a good event like this. So I'll be avoiding Johnny Kiefer this week. Sorry, Johnny. We tried. Sudarshan Yelamaraju. Very small sample for him, just 6. I'm guessing he missed the cut at the Open. Yep, 2 of the Open and then the Texas Children's Open. So maybe this isn't super instructive on everybody. You could go show me guys who played at least 12 rounds and sort out some of those guys, but it is a lot of the top of the board. It is Scottie, Xander, Rory's not that far, Wyndham's not that far down, Fitzpatrick's right there. Corey Connors couldn't pay me to bet him here. I don't think he has the chops to beat this field right now. Minwoo Lee, maybe a guy I'm looking at. So, it's, I guess, Gotterup, defending champ. He was on sponsors exemptions not that long ago. This guy has a bunch of wins now. It's been hot all summer. That's a weird bet to make, though, as I mentioned right off the top, because we as golf bettors hate betting on a guy that just won, and we hate betting on a guy that won this event last year. And he's got 2 strikes against him. Maybe I just kind of wait. I'm going to kind of keep an eye on his price. If it fades down, he's just playing such good golf. Like a Gotterup each way or a Gotterup top 10. Kind of, if the market's a little cooler on him because there's so many big names and they want to avoid him for that reason. Maybe I'm in the Gotterup business. I bet Rory at the Open, or the U.S. Open rather. Didn't help. He didn't get it done. He's 10-1. If I had to place one bet near the top of the board, and I know Scottie has looked a little better. He almost got it done there a couple weeks back. But if you're going to give me Scottie at, again, 5-1 and Rory at double that price, and what's his form here? Is it just like second place every year? We can look at his page quick here. Gosh, I'm terrible at clicking around. Hopefully he's not Sabatini. We'll look at McIlroy. Going down to his Genesis. Oh, it's going to pull in Genesis Invitational too. I got to type in Scottish here. T2, 25, T4, 24, and then obviously the win a couple years back. So I think I'm in the same boat as I was at the U.S. Open. If you're making me take someone at the top of the board and you're getting 10-1 on a guy who does nothing but top 5 this place, and you're getting twice the price, half the projected win equity in the market right now, I'm kind of looking at Rory again. He's disappointed me before, and I hate his guts most weeks, but I don't know that 10-1 is going to sit there forever. So I'm probably looking at that. I've looked at Fitzpatrick. I haven't made any clicks yet. again, as a guy who's not in a legal state and can't just hammer the stupid early numbers on DraftKings, I'm going to wait until some of the books I can use pop up here. I will be, you know what? I bet on the prediction markets last week. I used Kalshi for a couple. I got the best odds possible, for me at least, on I believe it was Blades Brown and Zuber were Kalshi for me. They were about 55 to 1 everywhere else. I got roughly 65. And I have no idea when they open odds. I just haven't really looked at that. You know, I know when Bovada BetOnline bookmaker open odds for me. I know when to start checking that. I don't really know, you know, Kalshi, Polymarket, Novig. So I'm going to have to do some double checking on that and see if I am going to be more of a Monday bettor. If I have 3 or 4 options to shop from. I think a lot of why I wait is I'm waiting for the bookmaker prices to come out, you know, Monday, Tuesday. But yeah, Fitzpatrick's on the radar. He's got that low ball flight. Fitz links courses. Maybe again, not as much of a problem this week with the light winds. The new driver has the form trending, but he's like 20 to 1. I can't bet all the guys at the top of the board. So I mentioned Kitayama. He's had a good finish here a few years back. He's been gaining on approach. He's won in the wind if it does kick up and be windy. The putter's a little rough. I think that's probably going to keep me off him, but he's like 50 to 1. He's someone I looked at. I mentioned Tom Kim. He's, God, what is it? The inside 15. I think that was the stat that popped up for him. Just finding really good opportunities. You know, hitting your irons inside that 15-foot range, giving yourself opportunities at birdies, and obviously, hopefully, just 2 putts here, not 3 putts. He's someone I looked at, and then Chikara. Are we going to bet Chikara? I have a bet on him next week, 100 to 1 to win, and I bet him parlayed with France to win the World Cup. That pays, like $15 to pay $8,000 or something ridiculous. So I'm going to be cheering him next week, but I don't know. I'm going to have to double check he's in the field. I think so, just because it is a DP World Tour co-sanction and he's had so much success. I would assume he's here. Haven't looked all the way up and down the field yet. Still a bit of a Monday for me. And honestly, I don't have that much more unless anyone has any questions or ideas, thoughts. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some, I'll have my betting card put together. If you do want to check out some of the stuff that's behind the paywall, we still have the Novig deal. You're able to get yourself a full year, 365 days, all the way through next year's John Deere Classic for $5. You sign up for Novig, use our promo code BSG, and deposit at least $5. They'll give you 50, which is already a 10 to 1 you hit on. You can hit on that and Rory. Have 2 10 to 1s. And we'll give you a full year subscription to Betsperts Golf, the Rabbit Hole, the paywalled articles, the daily articles through the tournament from Ron, all of the player pages, the tournament pages, all that. So check that out if you have any questions. And yeah, BSG 26, if you can't take advantage of that. If you have already done some of those deals or you already have a Novig account, I'm going to say if you already have a Novig account, you know who doesn't have a Novig account? Your wife, your girlfriend, your dad. They can get a Novig account. They can just give you the promo code. Just sign up for Novig. Find your way in there. Get this for free. I mean, not free, but $5 is practically free. So check that out. And then, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Loaded field. Course that rewards driver and long irons, forgives the short game a little. And wind that kind of looks wimpy this week. Give us a thumbs up on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. I am able to see the stats. Only like 30% of the people that watch these videos are subscribed. That hurts my feelings. So hit the subscribe button. And then, yeah, we'll have full outright cards tomorrow. Ryan will have his. I don't know that he's writing an article, but I will make him tell me who he's betting at least, so I can talk about a few of his bets on the show. And yeah, we'll catch you tomorrow. We'll have a little more firm look at the weather. We do have a question. Did you see any Preston Stout at the JDC? He was impressive. Yeah, everybody wanted to talk Jackson Koivin, who, I don't know, the pressure had to be on that kid because he got interviewed so much. He got talked about just so many times coming into that tournament, and it was his debut. But Preston Stout was super impressive, and he might be, I don't know what his status is completely on going forward and playing some of these events, but guy played pretty well. It was an easy event, played pretty easy, but the guy top 20 the John Deere after, I think he played the Byron Nelson this year outside of just, being in the US Open as an AM, but top 20, can't argue with that. I'm trying to pull up his stats. Just great ball striking. Didn't really gain anything in the greens. He was pretty neutral on the greens, but he gained 1.65 strokes over the field, ball striking, a lot of those in his approach. And honestly, if he can hit the ball decently off the tee these kind of weeks where he's playing in a low scoring thing like the John Deere Classic, and he gets his putting together a little, he can win. Maybe we keep an eye on him this fall. I don't know what the fall schedule looks like anymore because they keep changing things, but he seems like a Michael Brennan type where, okay, let's just take him to win Utah. So I did catch a little of him. Real quick, John Deere Classic thoughts. It was super hot, and I hated that, but the food was good, and there's some really good viewing areas. I like a golf course that has a spot where you can see two holes, and I found a really shady spot by the 6th green where you could watch the shots come in and then obviously the putts, but you could also turn around and watch the approach shots on the 9th green or the 9th fairway, which is great. So overall, still 3M over John Deere as far as a viewing event for tournaments I've been to. And then all of those a distant second to going to the Waste Management, which is still the best in-person golf viewing I've ever taken in. Honestly, I had a lot of fun at the LPGA event a couple weeks ago at Hazeltine too. I think a lot of that was just the fact that it was Hazeltine, but John Deere Classic, it was fun, but not as fun as the 3M. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. As I mentioned, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Thanks a lot, and good luck.